So Steve, I wanted to talk about processing and intaking books, and I see you got a bunch here. Why don't we grab a box right here?
These actually just came in today.
Awesome. We'll just grab a box and we'll head over here, and you can go through what your guys' process is on how this works.
It's a bit more involved than you might think at first. We have to do initial first sort, is what we call it. We break it down by publisher. We do the major publishers: Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, Valiant, IDW. And then we do indies. And then they get sorted onto these pallets over here. So as you can see, like this right here says Image.
Image.
Every book on that pallet is Image. And then what we do is when we're going to work on processing Image, we take all the Image and we start to break that down into another first sort by letter. So Spawn obviously in the S pile. We have 27 piles. We count numbers separately as well. So we have 27 piles of letters that we break all of the images down into. And then after that's all done, then we have to go through it all over again and fine sort by title, by issue.
So when do you move to the second sort? So you've done the first sort by publishers,
Yep.
and now we're gonna how long is it before you head to that? Is it a number?
It takes a long time. No, it's just basically like, all right, what do I want to start processing next just to make listings from?
Right.
So right now we're actually doing Marvel. We got like 400 longs of Marvel to process. And in that station over there, you can see they're doing Avengers, or the A letters basically.
Okay.
So we're just starting from scratch, basically, starting top of the alphabet
And
down
so,
to Z.
and so you don't also separate them out by date, right? So
Nope.
it is from Silver Age or even Golden Age
Yep.
right through today.
Yeah, the year doesn't matter because we're trying to keep it in order because that's how we're going to end up processing it and also putting it away. So for us, the date doesn't matter as to when it was published.
Okay, so when do you also then do a grading process?
Yeah,
of like
that gets done into the listing process, which is what I do.
when you get to the listing process?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's almost third or fourth sort. Is there a sort after the alphabet? Then they move to they put them away in alphabetical order.
Yeah, so they'll bring it up front towards the office more. That's when I'll come out and grab
Grab the boxes.
I want
for
to work
listings.
on Marvel today, or I want to work on magazines or digests, whatever I kind of. It helps to try to manage the flow of where people are integrating inventory.
And do you list 5 days a week?
Mm-hmm.
And about how many do you get through a day?
Oh, that
I know it'll vary. It depends on what it
depends
is.
on the day.
I mean, I guess Marvel and DC may be easier because of their
It gets tougher when the book is not in the database already.
In the database.
That's what becomes more of a process.
Stand by. We're going to talk about the whole database thing a little bit later. Yeah, it's probably one of the big keys to his business, and we're going to get into it later on.
Yeah. So when it's not in the database, then it's like very slow process of like
You have to then
you gotta add it, you gotta
the database.
analyze. Okay.
But every
what's
one
the
you
selling
add, then
points
it's
of it?
there for the next time, right?
It is, and it makes
Right.
it easier next time. But you gotta focus on selling points. You gotta focus on obviously writer, cover artist, publication date, all the the meat and potatoes of like why what people want from that book.
From that book.
And then you gotta figure out. It's nice if there's something else, so like a selling point on top of that.
Right.
So,
First appearance, death.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I try to do that stuff at home when kids are sleeping, wife's sleeping. It's like I got a little time to just.
So you'll take like a little
stack
stack home of stuff that's not in the database, and that's where you'll do it.
So
So
this I like to churn
this is
stuff
no
out.
8-hour-a-day job.
No.
We're going to get into that too a little bit later. But yeah, I know. And it's everybody says, "Oh, we're working 5 days a week." 7, because if we're not, we're probably at some comic convention or somebody's yard sale or flea market. We're going to talk about sourcing books later on too.
So actually, so in this station right here right now is we have one person who's breaking down stuff based on size. So we're doing digest stuff that are down here. We have magazine size stuff, we have oversized stuff behind you, and then we have comic size stuff over here. And that's just because when we file this away, digest stuff and oversized stuff and mag stuff get put in different places than comic size stuff.
Right.
So we can't sort this in, if there's a Marvel book here, we don't want to sort this Marvel oversized in with the Marvel comic stuff, just because
Makes sense.
it would take putting it away. It would take way longer to put it all away.
And how long have you been working on this process?
Well, a long time.
A long time.
13 years full time.
But it's
But I also got whipped into shape by one of my, or a couple of my boys, mostly Joe and Mackenzie, because, I would put everything away.
You know
And
what
I know
it
where
was.
it is, and I know what it is. But they're like,
That's how I run my shop. I know where the comics
know
are.
where this is, or if it's a hardcover or a softcover. So like,
Right.
and then I'm like, well, how do you not know that? But it slowly sinks in. Wait, not everybody is just studying comic books their entire life. So
yeah.
they whipped me into shape as far as organization, because otherwise this place would probably be way messier.
Yeah. So let's take look at a couple of books here. I happen to notice, I kind of cheated a little bit. I kind of noticed a couple of books. Everybody knows that I'm a huge fan of 80s and 90s indies, and so all right. So this is Aardvark, Neil the Horse. Now is this going to go under Aardvark? Publisher?
You mean the publisher?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we file it
When
away,
you do it final,
when we file it away, it'll
initially
go
it'll go in random.
Initially, it would go in indies.
In indies.
Just indies.
So
yeah.
most of this box is going to just be indies. Mm-hmm. So this was everybody knows this is one of my favorite books of all time. Mike Grell's John Sable. Actually, was a television show. Doesn't make the book worth anything more. It was not a bad.
Tough to move,
it wasn't
man.
a bad show.
Tough to move.
It is tough to move. Grell doesn't get. I don't think Grell gets his due. I don't. Ooh, Racer X. That's starting to get. I mean, I don't know if that might be the third or fourth volume, but Racer X television show's coming out. Some Warrior's Way. Some Comico stuff. Elementals. I'm a big fan.
It's a good read.
Yeah. Some earlier Dark Horse, Homicide, Fonz. First 6-pack. That was got a lot of good stuff in there. Some more John Sable. There's going to be some Badger in there. Samurai. Some more John Sable. Oh, here we go. Here's some early Comico. Now you pointed out something to me earlier. Here we got Scrog and Slaughterman. And as goofy as some of the people, the art is really good. The pinup art on there is really good. But what he pointed out to me on the back is an advertisement for the Grell #1. So people out there that are chasing ads for stuff, you never know where you're going to find it.
Grendel.
What did I say?
Grell. You're stuck in John Sable mode.
Yeah, I'm stuck in John Sable mode. Yep. So Grendel. So that's pretty cool. We'll maybe do a little close up of that. Right there. So, well, then I damaged the book, and I owe you $100. So hey, we got change of scenery, and we're going to talk about how many listings sell a week for you out of the 6 different platforms. You don't have to give me each breakdown, but a total.
I think I measure it more in like number of comics. So,
Okay.
Because you could have a listing for one book, or you could have a listing for like 120. So like I think it's about 1.5 to 2 long boxes a day going out.
A day.
Yeah.
So
On average,
bagged?
and that includes Saturday and Sunday too.
So that's bagged and boarded.
Depends on the book, because we sell bulk lots as well. They're not getting.
So you'd say 250 to 600. I mean,
I get you.
500 to 600.
Yeah, probably about 600-ish.
About 600.
5 to 600 books.
Right, 7 days a week, $2,300, 2,300 books. So you're feeding a monster. This is like
we have a very healthy appetite now of needing to source new inventory because we need to replenish. I want to keep the listings on the uptick,
right,
rather than the downtick.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you've got. We talked about it a little bit before that you have dealers that are bringing you books and selling you books, and so your sourcing is at probably an all-time high. You're not turning anybody away.
No.
Well, as long as the price is right.
Sometimes it gets full back there. Joe and I just made a lot of room yesterday because it was getting unruly, and we needed to make some room because I have 3 different dealers trying to sell me stuff.
Yeah, so. I see you got a sea container.
Yeah.
Side for extra.
There was a deal that came up, and I was like, I would really like to own that deal, and so I had to buy a container. 6,000
square feet warehouse, and we're now adding on already. That's fantastic.
So I
That's
bought
great
a container, and then I called the engineer. I said, hey, let's talk about expanding the warehouse so I don't have to be keeping them in a container. Yeah.
So we moved over to where he shoots. So is this for shooting your listings?
This is for manual listings. Yep.
Okay.
I ended up handing off the manual listing creation to Joe.
Okay.
So I can just focus on making listings through the comic-based system. So he's doing, I was doing both. It's not enough time in the day.
No.
So I got to hand that off. Then he handed it off, a lot of the shipping aspect to Mackenzie at the time. She's been here for years as well. She's great. She has a very good understanding of how everything works because she came in from the ground up. She was, sorter, and then, I think she did some packing, but she did everything. So she knows all of it. So
right.
She's good to have around. She's great. She, can manage people while he and I are just doing our things over here. So having key people and people that,
yeah, it's really important.
Will
can
actually
move your
show up
business
to
forward
work too.
Yeah.
It's super important.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen without them.
Right. So once he makes, does that become part of your database once he makes a manual listing?
No. Manual listings. We actually, so eBay discontinued support on TurboLister.
Right.
He figured out how to get all those listings out of TurboLister onto eBay in their inventory section.
Okay.
Okay, so now we still have all this stuff that I had been creating for 15 years, listings. It's just saved in our eBay
on the eBay account dashboard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we can still access all those old listings now. Update them if needed. When we get it in and put it for sale.
So when he's doing these, they're lost. Like it's a one-off. So if he creates a individual listing.
So if one's not in the database already,
right?
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll add it to the inventory.
Okay.
So that we're storing
it forever.
forever.
Now, and you're able to pull that back off eBay to list it on all the others.
Yeah, it's under their inventory section.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So, being able to save your work and save, so you're not doing the same thing over and over again is crucial.
Yeah.
It's so important. So, thankfully he was able to glean all that information off of the TurboLister file and import it into eBay. So we don't have to redo all of that work. 20, 30,000 listings. It's a lot. It's a lot of work.
It is.
We come here, if it's an old listing or a new listing, we update the photo with whatever the new set is. That's what this is done here, and then eventually it finds its way to him, and he makes the listing out.
Yeah, because I know. I mean, with my small shop, I had at one point I had 1,500. I moved all the way up to 1,500, almost 2,000 listings at a time, and man, it was for us a Herculean task. It was just crazy for our small shop. With not
it's also hard to grow. So all right, once you get to 2,000 listings and a bunch are selling.
Yeah, well then you start getting more sales, and then your numbers are coming down, and you're having to then.
Yeah, how do I
push it past?
Growth in listings?
Yeah, and push past that.
That part is challenging. There's some days where I cannot make the progress against what left.
What's sold? Yeah.
And that's kind of discouraging for me because I want to see it moving
constantly
forward every day.
Yeah.
But
So did you ever think about all the sales data and everything that you're collecting? It has some value to the rest of the world, where you might have a way of
who do I offer that to?
Right.
Do I send it? Do I try to sell it to Overstreet? Do I partner with a price guide that are online? I don't know. I don't necessarily. I don't know if I place too much value on it. I get people that every weekly basis. Why is your price this? The price guide says it's worth that.
Right.
All right, well, go find it for that price.
Sure.
You won't.
Find a listing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
the
find
book's not even
else
available.
Yeah.
Right.
The price guide data is outdated
The day
it's published.
before it even hits the printers.
Yeah, so I'm not. I mean, maybe I'd be interested in sharing that information at some point, but it's not on the forefront of what I want to accomplish today or this year.
I think it's really got a lot of value. I mean, obviously, to you, it's you use it every day.
I do, and actually, I store that data. So if a book sells for over $10, I actually manually save it. I write down the date, I write down the condition, I write down the price that it sold for.
Right.
And a couple things. So internalizing that data in my own mind helps me remember when I'm out there picking. Like, oh, I know this is a good book right here.
Right.
It also lets me engage that person saying, well, the price guide says it's worth this.
Right.
Okay, well, my sale from April 20th of this year says it's worth this.
Right.
Oh, I didn't realize that. And that's some of what it is. It's just there's so little data on some of this stuff that they don't know what it is worth or should be valued at.
Right.
So to have that in my pocket to say, here's actual sales data versus whatever a guide's telling you.
And another thing we've talked about is about the listings is like sometimes when I'll have like either I made a mistake when I was ordering or it's just a book that comes in by the tens, like in everybody's collection when it's in there, so I'll have 10. I'll list all 10 in one listing.
That's a cardinal sin.
Right. And I stopped doing it because of your advice. I think it's really important that people, hear about this. Is that
sure? So like Avengers
not
of
to do
Superman
that?
500.
Yeah.
I probably have a couple of them on hand. I like to only make one available copy at the time. It gives me the chance to pause and reevaluate the price, especially in today's culture where a book heats up from $2 to $50 overnight. Yeah. So if I listed, okay, I have long boxes of that book, and let's say it took off for some reason, and I had 600 copies of it listed for sale at $1.99.
Yeah.
They're gone immediately because the community is so active now on this on the news like that. So it gives me an opportunity to reevaluate. On the eBay side, continually putting that thing back up for sale that sold, it's advantageous for your account. Okay? You don't have an old listing that has had several sales on it, but it's 5 years old.
It's still an ancient listing. Yeah.
You want to keep things fresh on these marketplaces to help your metrics. Okay. And that's something that I didn't know at first either. Like I said, a lot of this stuff you just learn on the fly.
Right.
So I used to put everything up available with quantity, and I would see that the listing's 2-3 years old and nothing's happening with it.
Right.
And then I
and
noticed,
it's a book that's selling.
But then I also noticed like this other guy sold it.
Yeah.
Or this guy sold it because I would still be looking up sold
Sure.
history. So then it's like, all right, let's take it down and put it back up, and then it sells. Okay, so having new inventory is valuable for your metrics from these other marketplaces.
Right.
And that's some of the frustrating part of selling online, is you have this third party in the way between you and the buyer.
Right.
That is influencing things. Okay, so when you're searching for something on eBay, the default search engine is best match. It's not price. It's not condition. It's none of that. It's best match.
Right.
So what's in their best interest is to push the buyer towards a seller who's going to ship on time, who has really good feedback.
Right.
And all these things are important, and those are things that I had to learn the hard way. Like I remember arguing with buyers, and they're like, "This has a crease in it, so it's a good copy," and I'd be like, no, a good copy would be like missing a chunk from it. So I'm going back and forth with them, not just like, and also like I was hungry for business. I needed to keep every cent that I had sent out.
Sure.
So I sending refunds was painful at the time. But my feedback starts getting dinged. Seller was unreasonable or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And
then the whole time where people were kind of, before they stopped it, where people were holding you hostage with, I'm going to give you a bad review if you don't give me a partial refund.
Sure. Yeah.
Which they
got rid of that.
They kind of got rid of that.
There's goods and bads of that, but the overall is the feedback plays into how they view you as a seller, and that's what's important. And it took me a bit to realize that too. It's like, all right, so I'm gonna start working on customer service, that aspect of it, not being like you see the color, the grade actually allows for this and that. I'll do that here and there, but on the average one, I really just try to say what would make you happy with this transaction. Let's get to that point, and that sets the bar for like a compromise or partial refund or return, whatever it may be. Let's get the customer happy with the transaction so that my feedback doesn't get dinged, which then starts to have a negative effect on the whole business.
Right. So what's your marketing strategy as far as, do you allow just the algorithm to handle it, or do you send things out with your...
That's kind of my marketing strategy, is just to be a really good seller on that platform. Okay, have a huge selection, be very responsive to questions, be very responsive to problems that the customer has with their order, and that's really it, because that will allow the marketplace to just start to push you.
Right.
Towards
But you don't
buyers.
send anybody like to bring back repeats.
So I do, and part of that was because of it's time. When you have that many listings, it's time consuming to attend to offers.
Right.
Okay, you're getting,
So-
hundreds of offers a day potentially.
Look, I had a hard time doing it, and I had 1,500. So like I said, it tops 2,000, and I was having a hard time keeping up with offers and multiple offers when a book got hot, right? And
Yep.
then like the first, as soon as you would list it, there'd be somebody like trying to cut you, like
Sure, yeah, immediately.
because they want to put it back up before they even get it,
Right. Yep.
right? So yeah, there's a lot of
So
that.
eBay has a nice thing that allows you to have a promotion that if they buy X number of items, you get an X percentage
Off, yeah.
Yeah. So I set that up, and I kind of try to automate the system. Like,
Right.
hey, look, I'll give you 5% off, 10% off, but if you just do this, and I explain how they add the items to the cart, use
Right.
the add that cart button for 9 items, and I'll automatically get a 20% discount. Okay. So I start to include that in message in my counteroffer to them.
Okay,
Inform them, let's not waste time with this offer process.
back and forth.
You're automatically
Here's
going to get 20%
exactly
off.
how you can get. Yeah.
Here's how you get it. And if they keep coming back, it's like, I'm not going to be going lower than the promotion, so there's
Right.
no sense in us
Going
wasting
back and
time
forth
going
over
back
that.
and forth. Yeah. So I still get a ton of offers every day, but I can see in my return customer
Right.
percentage that it works, that a lot of these customers know, all right, I'll just go there, I'll pick up my 9 or more items, I get my 20% off automatically.
Right.
They're not gonna waste their time waiting for responses from us as far as counteroffers go.
Can you see how many people have made you a favorite?
Yeah, they call it followers on
Okay.
eBay. I think we have
It used to be
5,000 or something
favorite,
like that.
like saved favorite,
I think it's,
but now it's followers.
they call it followers, yeah.
Okay.
It's like 5,000 on there. Yeah.
That's nice. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't really know how much it gets you. Like, I don't know if they're sending emails out every day, like, oh,
Right.
this guy listed this today. Yeah, maybe they do.
So, well, one of the easiest things is you can click on your favorite seller and it'll show you what they listed today.
They have that. It gives me the ability to send them a newsletter.
Right.
And that I don't do. I probably should.
Should,
But
yeah.
So, marketing wise, I'm not doing as much as I should be doing.
So you recently got into new comic books, and
Yep.
I just did a show on how to set up your accounts with the 3 companies.
Yep.
How did you find that going on with who was the easiest?
I feel like they were all pretty easy.
Pretty easy?
Yeah, it didn't seem like that tough of a process. Yeah.
There
There was like a lot of online application. And you
online
have to have
application.
your
Your
paperwork
information,
and your
yeah.
information ready to go. But if you have that,
Now, did Lunar or Marvel make you put in an initial order with your? So Diamond makes you create an initial order, and they have a minimum.
I don't remember. This is all recent history too, and
Right.
I probably should remember, but I don't. I do remember doing the initial with Diamond. And actually, if you miss your initial and any month with Diamond, they're like, "You still selling comics? What's
Yeah,
going on?
Are we still in business together?
Yeah,
Is it?
like, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Because I did that once. It totally slipped my mind.
It's happened
to
to
put
me.
that in.
It's happened to me, and they'll take it by paper. You can actually send it in. That you can't put it online. You can't go into the computer.
Right.
Put it, but they'll send you a sheet, and you can fax that in, and they'll hand.
To me,
it
I was
in.
just like, you know what? I'll just do the FOC for these weeks, and
I told them that one time too, and they were like, "Are you sure?" And I was like,
well, I'm sure they get people that forget to do the FOC.
Right.
So in their mind, they're like, he's going to tell us that, and then not order anything.
Now, I never forget to do Diamond's FOC. I forget to do, because they're on different days and the days are not what work well for me, is Lunar and Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
And you really, like Diamond, it doesn't change. If you do the FOC on the week, the Tuesday when it first comes out,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't change from then till the Monday.
Right.
You can still make changes, but it doesn't change. It seems like the Penguin and the Lunar actually changes in that last week, all the way up to the last day, and I've had some issues with it.
Yeah, because of that, I try to get my FOC in on Friday, which, like I said, scheduling wise, it's tough. Like, you might
Right.
have other stuff going on that day, but
Yeah,
that's
especially at
gotta
the
be,
shop, it's a big day for us. There's a lot
Sure.
of stuff going on.
That's got to just be part of your routine for that Friday.
Friday,
Wanna
it
just
is.
check
I'm gonna have to
FOCs.
I'm gonna have to work it in there. And then what? On the new comic book strategy, do you have anything you want to talk about where you're moving with that and what you might be doing in the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to have a business called Cyberspace Comics and not have a website. It's still. That's another thing. I think you mentioned it too. Is when you're picking your name, that there's so much now. There's so much to be concerned about now. You got to run that by, like you said, social medias. You got to see, does this exist already? You know, and if so, am I stepping on somebody's toes? Like, so when I initially changed my eBay handle to something that was comic related, I changed it to Coliseum of Comics. And then I was like, let me just look it up. And I'm like, oh, there's a whole franchise of stores in Florida called Coliseum of Comics. So my wife suggested Cyberspace Comics, and I was like, oh, that's way better.
Cool name.
It's way better than I came up with. So, but before I change it, my eBay handle.
Let me check.
Let me start looking things up. And at the time, there was nothing like Twitter to be concerned about.
Right.
Well, maybe there was, just unbeknownst to me. But it's super important now to be like, all right, can I get the website? Can I get this handle on everything? Because you want to have that uniform.
Yeah.
You don't want numbers in your name. You don't want special characters like hyphens or underscores. And you want it to be about what you're selling.
Right.
Which is tough when you have to pivot, like you.
Right.
Yours is an umbrella type of term. But for me, I knew I just want to sell comics. So Cyberspace Comics, and that's it. So alliteration helps too.
Yes.
That always.
That's why I'm double H.
That's a Stan Lee trick. All of his secret identities were.
Humans love alliterations.
Yes,
they love it.
Of course.
There's a whole in the comedy, the science of comedy, they call it. If you say this words that start with P and F 3 times, anything said 3 times can be funny, but P's and F's specifically, when said 3 times, make people laugh.
Okay.
Uncontrollably for not uncontrollably, but like they can't control not laughing at it.
Right.
It's weird. So it's just and alliterations. That's just a psychological thing that humans just are drawn to it. It just fits.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Something about it. So yeah, if you can do something alliterative, making it easy for them to remember.
Yeah.
Is important too.
Yeah.
So. Good luck out there, because everything's taken already.
So
by now, I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's gotta be so challenging now to come up with all
tremendously, because there's all people that are like out of business now, and that name is still it lives on the internet forever.
Yep.
Like somebody bought havenforheroes.com forever ago, and it just they just have it parked.
Oh, that was me.
As
soon as you opened up, buy that up.
Buy that.
Charge him a premium.
So. I think it's really difficult to drive people to your own website.
It is, and that's a challenge that I'm going to try.
Right.
The initial thing was, okay, well, if we're going to have a website, I got to have everything, the new issue, whatever's just came out, in addition to all the back stuff. So
you'll be moving into a subscription, possibly? Subscription?
That's probably a ways out, because that's a whole other programming headache. But possibly. Initially, I just want to be able to have the selection.
Right.
So I'm going through Diamond, Lunar, all that. I'm trying to order.
So you're going to add a platform, right? You're going to have a platform
I'll have
added, sure.
Yeah, another platform.
Now you're at 7 there.
Yeah. I'm just trying to stock everything. My goal is to offer my buyers what I was looking for as a teenager.
The ability to get what you wanted.
Like, there's comic books out there that I just found out about, and I want to be able to get them all from one place.
If I don't get a subscriber to order it, and I have nobody has any interest, like I don't hear any talking about it, there's plenty of DC books, especially now, I don't even order.
Yeah,
and there's some Marvel books I don't order.
Because the markup
I'm just warehousing.
The markup isn't there.
No.
So for you to just be sitting on them,
I don't have a way to turn them like you're moving into it, the ability to turn those new books. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So because of that, I would like to stock everything.
Right.
And just personal goals. Trying to have one of the largest selections of back issues.
Right.
In the country or the world is a goal.
Yeah, that's why you need another warehouse out in the back.
Yeah, and that's what caused the creation of this warehouse. Is we had this process now,
right?
By which we could start moving inventory, but we didn't have the space now to take in a bunch more books,
right?
To make more listings for the book. So I approached my wife. I was like, "Hey, what do you think about taking on enormous debt for a comic book warehouse?" And she signed on for that too. So we found this land here for sale, and put out the engineering process, and they came in. And it took a long time. It took a very long time to get through every step: planning, DOT driveways,
Sure.
Town approval, building itself.
You had to find a piece of property that was also commercial.
Yes.
In our area, sometimes not the easiest.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was a heck of an undertaking while still trying to run the business.
Yeah. It's distracting.
Yeah.
So there's so much involved with
It's one
meetings.
thing buying a place that's already existing. It's already, or even renting a big warehouse that's already existing. You either get a triple net deal or or just like a renter's kind of deal where you don't have to pay for any maintenance on stuff, but you are paying for the square footage. It's easy. You walk in, turnkey, open the doors, and you're in. This, are they going to be a week later, a month later? Did the gravel come in?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like.
But it's such a distraction because you want to do it right.
Right.
So, while I'm thinking, going to meetings and doing research and stuff like that, what heating system do I use? All that stuff. You would never even think that you have to think about it. But all that takes away from your actual business.
Right.
And I just wish I could have been like, all right, the money's, the loan is out, the debt's there, but the building exists. I don't have to put the time into it. And time is the most precious thing.
Absolutely.
Because that's what you have. That's the only thing you have to help you grow that business.
Yeah. I'm just checking my notes here.
Okay.
We talked about that. So, hey, I wanted to get into what your prize piece in your personal collection is. Because I know you keep a little personal collection.
I have it's a large selection of Marvel comics that I read on a pretty regular basis. I know you said in your last episode that people don't read every day. And you're right, they don't.
Read every day. But you read, some people read a lot.
I try to...
I don't read as much as I would like to anymore because of the two jobs, but I try to read as much as possible. And I really try to make readers out of people.
If you own a comic shop, especially a local comic shop, and you're not reading, you're probably not doing it right.
You're not doing it right.
How can you recommend
exactly
to your customer base, oh, you bought that, you like that? Well, you'll probably like X, Y, and Z.
Exactly. That's the whole business of a local retail comic shop.
Right.
Is get them into like, oh, you like that writer? Well, here's this writer who's actually even better than that writer, but in same genre.
And that's why I said before, when we first started talking, I was like, if you don't like comics, this is not the business for you.
This is not business.
It is
for me, it's all
time.
I love
drain.
comics because I love the storytelling. When the writer and the artist have that real, there's a lot of them you read and you're like, I could read it and not look at the pictures, or I could look at the pictures and not read. But then when those two guys are working like simpatico and it's just. It's amazing. It's the best storytelling. You can't get better. It's better than the movies. It's better than a regular novel. It's better than everything. For me.
And without that knowledge, or the interest in reading it and knowing about it, it's like...
What people, some writers don't understand is that if you tell me what the artist has put on the page, I don't know why you have a box telling me it's a dark, stormy night. He's drawn that.
That's some old Marvel... Especially during the Stan Lee era, it's like
a few guys that still do it.
Yeah, but I feel like they've told people you can't do caption boxes anymore. Has to all be dialogue.
There is less. Some indies you still get it, but there was guys like I was never a Neil Gaiman fan. As huge as in the comic world, he's like Shakespeare in the comic world.
But he came from a very just a literal world,
right?
Where
For me, it really felt like prose and art. There was art on the page, and then he just had a ton of prose.
Right.
And I didn't dig that at all. Now, whenever his stories have been made into movies, I really enjoy them. The story is a really good story. Just in the format, I didn't like it in the format of comics.
And it does have its own. The medium has its own, certain things that are very interesting just for the medium. Like you said, it only works in the medium, sometimes.
Yeah. What about dual writer books? When there's two writers on a book and an artist, I hate that. because each guy's trying to get his voice in there, and then the voice
It's
is
tough.
not. Yeah,
It's tough.
it's really tough. I mean, and I've seen really great writers team up, and it's like, hey, it's okay, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great idea.
But, you know, if you read The Guardians of the Galaxy from Abnett and Lanning, it's phenomenal. It's so good, and it's just two writers working together.
Right.
You couldn't even tell. For me, I can't even say,
you can't say this is one guy or the other. Well, I haven't seen that, so I didn't read that series,
read
so
it.
I'm
It's
gonna have to read that. Which Guardians of the Galaxy?
The initial,
Volume 2?
yeah, volume 2, the initial, when they first come to the present time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, you know, Grail-wise or whatever, I don't really look at it that way. I don't like the value of the dollar value that is placed on
Right.
comics doesn't enter like the meaning that it has to me.
What about
like, yeah, it's
historical
cool.
value?
There's historical value to it, and I do have, you know, some cool books, but it's really like, for me, it's like value-wise placed on it of the Guardians run that I just talked about.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a good read. Like, it's almost worth more to me than like Amazing
Right.
Spider-Man number 17 because
I
I enjoyed the story more.
I tell people all the time, I said, if you saw my collection, one, it'd be worthless because it's creased and bent, and you'd be like, what are you reading, you weirdo?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and that's
I love it.
like, for me, that's also like like a humbling point is, like, I'll put out there like, this is such a good read. Like, initially that was one of my marketing things.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, we don't know who you are. We don't care what you think is a good
Right,
read. So like, the stuff that I think is a phenomenal read, like, it doesn't always sell.
Can I tell you, it's like, we talked about YouTube, and then the whole marketer reporting and stuff like that has moved the needle. But what I've noticed is that reviews of like the actual read and stuff does not move the needle on sales on
It's a
comics.
shame. But,
It is a
you
shame
gotta
'cause-
have somebody that you trust their opinion. Though. That's
Right,
kind of one
and
thing.
that's the hardest thing. I think the only guy that probably moves that needle is Jim Comics. I see a lot of the books that he recommends, but he's also specking, but he genuinely specs on the books he that he has enjoyed to read.
Yeah. I mean, specking is totally different than trying to read. You know, you gotta look for the hook and all that.
Right.
But reading, you know, you're just enjoying your own self.
That's
You know,
right.
whatever you
There's
can
been
find out there.
there's been a lot of really bad books that like have gone up in value and make me mad.
Yeah.
Better books.
So I mean, if you want to talk like what
yeah,
other people,
grab a book. Show me something good.
this is probably my best book as far as other people's valuation goes. But if you want to ask what my own personal favorite is, I don't necessarily have.
Like, see this kind. Oh, can I touch
Yeah,
it?
you can touch it.
This displays really well. All complete.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. There's a tear in it. Yeah.
Well, that's nothing on a book like this. So, 4?
Yeah, I think I could get to that.
4?
Yeah.
The cover is just fantastic. I mean, the colors are nice, dark. There's a little bit of rub here and there, but like you just don't see these, man. I have never saw one. I mean, the closest I had was Spider-Man 2. I've never, and 181s used to come around all the time. I don't see them as much anymore, but yeah, nothing this important. Just such an iconic cover.
That is the fun of a book like that. Is the cultural relevance of it.
Right.
Of this specific book. If you want to read it, you know, you can obviously just get a reprint.
Right.
That's fine too. You know, you can still partake in the relevance of it through, you know, they have facsimile copies now, which is really nice. It's a great way to own and read that book.
It is.
That's such a, you know, today it's an important piece of pop culture.
Yeah, I love the facsimiles when they come out. I like them much better than the True Believers.
Yes. Yep.
You know, I guess what they were trying to do is get people in at like a really low discount price. But the facsimile is really, you put it on your wall, it looks like the same. I mean, there's been
Plus the barcode.
Yeah, the barcode. It
Yeah.
has the added barcode, but it really has a neat look to it. I think the True Believer on the tie. I don't know. It just maybe me. I mean, a lot of people may love the True Believers, but
I mean, so for me, part of the fun of owning comics is like you almost have your own personal museum kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
of pop culture.
Yeah. Especially if you like the weird stuff that I like, because people are like, "What? Ribbit?
Yeah.
Like you own a ribbit?" I actually own
Do you
multiple
own all
ribbits.
4?
I own all 4, and I own multiple number 1s because
Okay.
I'm a Frank Thorne fan. I like Frank. I think a lot of guys haven't gotten their due yet, and I think there's guys out there that are definitely in the 50-cent quarter dollar box. Gulci, is that how you say his name? Gulach. He did a lot of epic books. He did a lot of like in that 80s.
Oh, Glacy, I think.
Glacy, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Gul.
I've reached out to several of those creators because I feel the same way you do. Like, how come they're not? How come they don't have the fan base that they should
have?
But some of it's just they want to do it on their own.
Right.
They don't want to have to do company characters.
Right.
They have their own vision, and they don't want to be bound by any company and the third party. And that's the difference between an artist and then the business type of person. Because I'm just like, dude, get your art out there. Like it's so cool. Do whatever you need to do to get it out there.
I was just going through some boxes, and I found like Boland, when you see a Boland Batman or Joker, like those books blow up, and it's like everybody's like, oh, Boland. Man, look at his Judge Dredd stuff. Which was
it's awesome, man. From Eagle.
Awesome stuff from Eagle.
Yeah.
And those books are quarter bin.
They're actually they're catching on.
Starting to move a little bit.
Yeah, and the number 1 goes for good.
Yeah, I hold on to a bunch of them. Yeah, the number 1 I've seen like sell for around 25 and up.
Steve Waron is another one. He's got amazing art.
And what did he?
If you looked up like Survivors.
Survivors, okay.
Yeah, it's art's incredible. But I reached out to him. I was like, let me help you get something published or distributed or something like that. I would love to do that.
Because you are going to start doing doing exclusives. You're looking to do some exclusives.
So, like you're saying, it's hard to get people to a website. Right. So I kind of want to see if I can get some of these artists to create some new stuff.
Right.
And that way I could give them a guaranteed purchase of the book.
Right.
I don't have to worry about a publisher saying, I don't know if it'll get this many copies ordered. I can just say, hey, look, I'd like to order whatever. I haven't figured out the number yet, but whatever that number may be, and stock your book, and let's get your stuff out there, because some of
it's
it.
a lot quicker than Kickstarting, right? Kickstarting, you have to sweat it. You have to do the whole work. And let me tell you, I know a lot of guys that've done the Kickstarter. David Pepos, who I liked his work early on. I would seek him out when I'd go to shows, because he does a lot of the conventions. He just got Savage Avengers. Congratulations, David. And I really liked his stuff, and it is when you do a Kickstarter, it is a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah, not only do they have to create the thing,
right,
but they have to put the whole Kickstarter
get it printed,
thing together,
put the whole kit together, and then ship it all out.
And the marketing of it all, and too. Yeah, it's a lot. So if my goal, once the website comes out, is to start to be able to help creators that I feel
are deserving
of a bigger audience, without the headache of having to deal maybe with a bigger publishing company, or even a distributor. I know dealing with some of the distributors can be challenging. Yeah. So if I can help that process for work that I think is good work, I'd love to be part of that. Right. So that's I focus. Or I said earlier that you always have to be kind of thinking of new things. That's kind of what I want to step into next, is helping indie creators get a larger audience.
Yeah, I wish I could be in that same realm myself.
I'm not creative in a artwork writing sense, but it would be fun to help aid those that are.
Absolutely, because we want to see books we want to read. Yeah. Too is like, and that's a big thing for me. Is I've talked about this a lot. Is just that some are not making stuff that are selling, and it's hard to recommend when the stories are weak, or the art is weak, or the continuity is all over the place, and it's hard to follow the story, or weekend it. Like, I don't know if you follow the Red X story.
No, it's DC.
Yeah. Well, they had the Red X ended up being this guy named Brick, who I don't even really know who he was.
That's
and then the funny thing is that he's in the beginning. There's an art piece. This is a continuity problem. there's a piece in the beginning where the Red X is putting on and Brick is in the foreground.
Oh, okay.
So
who is that then?
The mask is on.
Sounds like a hobgoblin thing where they set you up to think it's a zillion people.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it was just a continuity mistake. They're like, oh, we need characters in the background. This guy was in the group, and maybe they didn't know who they were going to make the guy.
Yeah.
Right.
See, for me, I don't have to worry about that, which is kind of nice. You have to.
Right.
It helps if you can sell the product to the individual customer, but for me, I'm just putting it up into
whoever likes
into
it
the
can buy
cloud,
it.
and I know there's.
And we said there's just
for it.
there's an ask for every seat. Like somebody will like the art on it, or somebody will like the story.
Sure.
Or a character. Sometimes, there were some books that I didn't love, but I loved the character, one of the characters in it. And I was like, well, I'm just going to follow it, and hopefully he moves on to his own book or something.
Right. That was me with the Great Lakes Avengers.
Great Lakes Avengers.
Avengers
Who was the one in the Great Lakes that you?
I just like the
you just like the team.
Yeah, when I was first getting into the internet, I was like.
See, I was a DC guy, so for me it was the Substitute Heroes of the Legion.
Okay, yeah, I think they're on a very similar playing field.
Right. So you and when DC did that Resurrection Man, do you remember that?
That was very good. Yeah.
And that was a bunch of lame characters. They're like, hey, we're just going to throw them in here, and then we're going to tweak their powers, like their powers of change.
That was Hero, right? H-E-
No, that was Resurrection Man, and he had like a group of heroes with him. Animal Man was one of the ones that came out of that.
Yes.
And the Animal Man series was really good when they torqued up his abilities and stuff like that, and that even got a show.
See, that's the stuff that I will read in DC.
Right.
And I'll read the little offbeat stuff.
Vertigo
They do a good job with it. Like the Doom Patrol from Morrison.
Yeah.
The Swamp Thing stuff is always fun.
Transmetropolitan.
Haven't read it yet, but.
Oh, you got to give that a read.
Well, when I say
fantastic.
DC, I mean like their universe.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the stuff that'll catch my eye. Resurrection Man was a fun read.
Yeah.
Even Manhunter was pretty fun too.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff during that time period when there was they were bringing in a lot of offbeat writers that were from the independent world, and they were giving them a shot. But all right, I think I've taken up so much of your time. Remember, folks, if there's anything we left out, you want to know about the online business, we're probably going to break this into 2, so you'll have seen 2 episodes. So if you have anything, Steve said he would answer almost any question. Let's keep it clean, and let's keep it not too personal. What was your W-2 last year, kind of thing. So please put any comments in the comment section, subscribe, all that stuff, and most importantly, keep reading comics.